Hello, everyone, and welcome to, I believe we're on episode 10 now of
Oh,
Lesbian Talk.
that was last week. We're episode 11.
I am always getting these numbers wrong.
You're always one off, though. Maybe
Yeah,
it's because you're in the UK, so you're in a different time zone.
I'm in the future. This makes me think we've done less episodes. I don't know why this works.
You're gonna have to work on that, Doctor.
I will try, companion. Okay, um, first up, we have a massive, huge announcement involving the Tube of You.
You.
Would you like to explain this, Giovanni?
Giovanni's not here yet.
Oh.
Sorry about that. I called him. He said he was on his way. I texted him, so, we'll have to see. But did you know that Project Million Entertainment, we are on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. It's Project Million Ent, E-N-T. We may have an Ent somewhere in Canada. I don't know. I mean, I don't. I'm thinking that they have them up there. They've got enough trees, so. But you can find all the comment stuff. You can find all of these shorts and sketches. You can now find Lesbian Talk. Justin's cooking show. You can cook this is also aggregated through that. So if you have a YouTube account, please do subscribe. If it's easier for you to watch on YouTube, please do that as well. But yeah, so there we are in YouTube, not reading the comments.
Yeah.
Or that way lies madness.
I'm not entirely sure we have many comments yet, so if you want to be the first person to say horrible things to us on YouTube, go ahead.
You could actually go through all of them and write first, and you could be first because I don't think we have any comments.
Yeah.
So it could be you, the one, the first one. And that, when anthropologists centuries in the future look at that, they'll be like, look, this person was always first. They must have been some kind of king.
You're a super genius.
Or super genius. Maybe a super genius king. Like Plato's meritocracy.
The king of the super geniuses.
That would be you.
He would
And
be
all you have to do is comment on a YouTube video.
in the land of the not quite super geniuses, the super genius is one-eyed or something. I was
Yeah,
trying to
you've been talking about.
I was trying to connect the kingdom of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. That
Oh,
in the world of the not quite super genius, the super genius is king.
I see. This is going to be another one of those episodes where I'm going to have to go through and cut up all the awkward pauses, aren't I?
Nah, the awkward pauses make things funnier.
No, they don't. That's why I cut them out. Sorry about that.
No.
Well, if you want to look at it this way, you sound a lot more succinct, and so do I.
Yeah, but I'm not succinct.
Well, they don't know that. I mean, the people listening at home.
Hmm, fair enough. Um, Although I have to say that with my pauses and my not really working out what I'm saying and I just don't know what I'm doing, it really fits in with what we're going to have to talk about for the first bit of the show.
That's true. Our word from last week was THC, which is the abbreviation for the active chemical component in marijuana. It stands for tetrahydrocannabinol something or other. So it's like one of those really long words that, organic chemists can pronounce, but nobody else can. So we're just going to go with THC, which really has no relevance for you because you don't smoke. And neither do I because I am pure as the driven snow.
Yes, you're as pure as the peat on snow.
Oh, stop it. Although I have known many, 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 many smokers in my life. I mean, it's not a bad thing. I mean, Colorado and Washington legalized this year. Well, technically, that's probably going to go to court and everything, but
I
I
think
don't I don't really think pot is that bad.
didn't Washington legalize as well?
I just said that.
I thought you said Colorado.
Colorado and Washington.
You see, I am so baked.
You need to pay attention. The post-it notes were useless. But yeah, I mean that's really cool that they did that, but I don't know. I don't think the DEA is gonna let them get away with that. It's one thing to say in our state it's legal. It's another thing to, defy a federal agency. But we'll see. We'll see how that works out.
Though, yeah, I hope it does well. I mean, looking at numbers of, how people feel about pot from America, it looks like more and more people are being fine with it, and eventually, it looks like it's going to be one of those things where the federal government are going to be yell about it, yell about it, yell about it, and eventually just go with it.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. As a child of the '80s, I was exposed to a considerable educational campaign designed to tell me that if I was even in the presence of pot smoke, I would immediately become some kind of demon or zombie, and everyone would nobody would love me anymore, and I would immediately fail all of my classes and end up toothless in a gutter, at the age of 12. I mean, you can't even imagine the sheer amount of time in class, through first grade, literally through college, that I was told, if you even think about marijuana, you will become a crack addict and you will die. I mean, this is before meth existed. Well, okay, this is before the meth problem existed in this country. I had classmates who had parents who were alcoholics, and all I told you was, you probably shouldn't drink so much until you're 21. Yeah, things and stuff.
Well, the sort of you've got the idea that if you can smell a little bit of marijuana smoke, you might turn into some sort of a demon. That is right out of Reefer Madness and Cocaine Fiends and all of these movies from the 30s. Like, were you told reality was the same as a low budget 1930s exploitation movie?
No, I'm using hyperbole for humorous effect. I mean, okay, all right, it's not like my health teacher said that specifically, but it was like the most horrible thing that could happen in the world. And like when I was in school, we had a health class, and they basically drummed it into you every single day, every single class. Don't drink, don't smoke, don't have sex. Don't take drugs, don't do anything. Just and I tried to do that because I was fairly certain that if I followed all the rules, at some point in time, someone would award me some kind of morality prize. Like I wrote an essay about this a while back, and I called it the moral superiority bear because I was telling the story at a girls' night that we had, which of course we were drinking heavily because we were in our 20s and we could do that. And I was saying how they told us don't smoke cigarettes, and well, I mean, of course, we know that pretty much smoking cigarettes is a recipe for an incredible cocktail of cancers, among other problems. So I'll go with him on that. But even one drink, just one not Animaniacs, that Tiny Toons episode that they aired once. Just one beer, that's all it takes, and it ruins your life forever. Like all of this stuff. Oh, if you even hold hands with a boy, you will get pregnant, also get AIDS, and everyone will hate you. Like when I was in middle school, they kept trotting out this poor girl who was by then in her 30s, married with a few kids, who'd gotten pregnant in high school, and she and the father had decided to get married, and she ended up going to college in her 20s. She was a non-traditional student, and they both had successful jobs, and I felt really bad because this she was about 15 years past the point of being relevant. Basically she was like, yeah, and it was really hard because my mom had to watch the baby while I was going to high school and stuff, and but then my husband and I got married, and we had a few more kids, and now he works here, and I work there, and I was thinking to myself, you know, her life doesn't really sound so bad. But, we were told, like, you will get AIDS and all this other stuff. Like, in sixth grade, a health teacher convinced me, had me, like, up night sweating, convinced that because a senior in marching band, who I was marching buddies with for one parade, because he said, "Oh, do you want some of my Coke?" and let me have, a few sips of his soda, I was going to get hepatitis. No questions. It was going to happen. She's like, "Yeah, we'll probably get hepatitis." And I was like, "Really? I only had one sip." She's like, "That's all it takes." And for the record, I did not get hepatitis.
Hepatitis C. C
But
for Coke.
well, no, but I mean, well, first of all, hepatitis is no joke, but they put the fear of God in you about absolutely everything. So I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't have sex, I didn't do drugs. I did everything that, they said that you were supposed to. And about a few years ago, I was telling my friend at girls' night, I realized that the kids that had smoked cigarettes, who have by now quit, the kids who did drink, who did do drugs, who did have sex, turned out just about the same as the rest of us. And I was like, and she was like, so? And I was like, well, where's my prize? And she said, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I did all those things that they said you weren't supposed to do. I mean, I was literally a few months away from my 21st birthday, the first time that I drank seriously, and that was a few Mike's Hard Lemonade, I did everything I was supposed to. Where's my prize? And she said, oh, I'm sorry. And then the next time I saw her, she had bought me a teddy bear and made it a little medallion, because she was way crafty, that said, I am the moral superiority bear. I was like, thank you. Because I really was convinced at some point there would be some big whole world assembly where prizes would be read out, and they'll say, "Oh, Omega didn't do any of the things that of those bad things that all the other bad kids do. So here's your prize." And it would be like, I don't know, an extra year of life or some money or something. And that's when I realized, wait a second, I think everyone in my life, probably as a child, was full of shit.
So you thought that, good things, not doing bad things was the equivalent of like coins, and if you did an
Well, basically, yeah, I figured that there must have been a reason that they were telling me to do things this way, and that reason would, probably be some kind of reward, because that's how, I mean, that's how you teach kids. Well, if you do bad things, you'll be punished, but good things get rewards. So I was like, well, there must be some kind of really great prize coming for this. And then, I realized that pretty much everybody was full of shit.
Yeah, people lie to kids, and it's really not fair to the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel, it's a bit unfair on the children. I mean, if I had kids, I can't say what I would do, but I do occasionally feel for the little bastards.
Well, I guess there was a lot of scare tactics going on in the 80s. And I haven't ever grown up in any other decade, so I don't know if it was like that for people growing up in the 50s or 60s or the 30s or 40s or anything like that, but
Well,
it was just a very
30,
stringent media campaign.
30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, they had, shit like the Depression or World War II
They
or
had better
like
things to worry about.
or communism to worry about. They had actual things to worry about. That's why you didn't get shit like the Satanic Panic.
Oh yeah, that's true. Like I seriously did know people when I was in elementary school and middle school who thought that Dungeons and Dragons did teach you how to be a witch.
Yeah, the more safe and secure a country is, the less real problems that it has. The more it feels the need to invent pathetic little shit and claim that it's a real problem.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people had a lot of real problems in the 80s. I mean, I can only speak from the point of view of a middle class white suburb. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
sure,
not saying
you
that
know,
life wasn't perfect for everyone in the 80s. I'm not saying that it was. I'm just saying on a cross-cultural level, there was a lot less problems in the 80s, existential threats to, civilization than in decades beforehand.
oh yeah, that's true. The Soviet scare didn't turn out to be as big as everyone thought. Like, I remember watching the Berlin Wall come down on TV. I was like, can I watch cartoons? My dad's like, no, this is history. What are they doing? They're tearing down the Berlin Wall. So what?
Our next door neighbor has a wall. Can I tear it down?
No, they didn't. They had a fence, but they were very nice. But yeah, like, I mean, I was a little kid, so a lot of those really big things like international communism and like, nuclear arms, I just really couldn't conceptualize of anything like that. All I knew is, well, Mr. McDonald told me that if I ever have sex, I'm gonna get AIDS and then get pregnant, possibly in that order.
See, that's another example of the people inventing shit. Because I think human beings, on a certain level, we can't be happy. So what we need is to invent shit to make us unhappy.
Well, I think that they should, if they ever do find the gay gene, they're always saying, "Oh, someday we're gonna find the gay gene." If they find it, you should get tested for it in elementary school, and then you should be exempt from health class. 'Cause like you have no idea how many pieces of paper I had to sign, saying that I would wait till marriage or I would practice safe sex and all this kind of stuff. And it was such a waste of time because I
Unfortunately,
statistically have very little chance of consensually becoming pregnant.
unfortunately, gay teens are statistically more likely to be involved in teenage pregnancy than straight ones.
How is that working out?
That works out because the gay teens in a homophobic-ish or very homophobic society attempt to prove they're straight.
Oh. All right, well, let me put it this way. I should have gotten a get out of condom class free.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like seriously, like when I was in middle school, we had to there was a specific day that we all got, pretend wooden dicks. I mean, not, we got them personally, but they were handed out and you had to practice putting on a condom. And I was like, I don't really want to do that. And so that morning I was like, "Mom, I feel sick." And she was like, "Well, you don't feel like you have a fever." I'm like, "I think I might throw up," which are like literally the magic words. And she's like, "Okay, well, I think you better stay home then."
So I want to know is, surely the other person would be putting on the condom.
Well, everybody in the class had to learn, boys and girls. Well, see, health class was only segregated in fifth grade because there was that one day in fifth grade when they herded all the boys off, and they took all the girls down to the nurse's office, and you got the talk. And but then health class in middle school and in high school, was just boys and girls. Like there was no gender segregation after that.
Yeah. The, we've moved a bit away from THC, whatever you call it.
CTH.
TLC. It's one of those R&B groups, I'm sure.
It is not. Um, I would not. Again, I would really not have a problem with pot being legalized because I know people that live in states where medical marijuana is legal who have weed cards, and it's a lot safer of a thing for them to take than to self-medicate with alcohol, or to take some kind of prescription medication that might have really horrible side effects.
Yeah.
And you know what? If it makes their lives better, if it helps that, crippling social anxiety, if it helps their migraines, you know what? Go for it.
As drugs go, it is, most studies agree that it's one of the less harmful ones that human beings take. It's a lot less harmful than alcohol, a lot less harmful than regular smoking because not many people will smoke, 20, 30, 40, joints a day.
Well, no, pretty much like they had the study that came out a while ago. They're like, yeah, well, smoking one joint is like smoking an entire pack of cigarettes, and I don't believe that. First of all, and second of all, there are machines called vaporizers, and I know this because I had a roommate that had one, and they're a few $100s. But what they do is they heat. I think you have to grind up the pot in like a special little machine, and then it heats it up and it makes like a water vapor out of the essence. So pretty much you smoke. I mean, he smoked a lot, and you don't get like tar and carcinogens in your lungs. And I'm like, well, that's even better. There are machines that can do it for you.
Yeah. Well, whoever told you that smoking a joint is like smoking a whole pack of cigarettes, I would, I'm going to do the classic Wikipedia thing and say citation needed.
Oh no, this was maybe I think about a month or two ago. There was a study that was done. There was results of a study were published, and I read the article on a news aggregator, and I can probably look it up later and cite specifically. But I read the study, and I was like, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't
it sounds not just counterintuitive, but I am finding it difficult to understand how it could, be like doing an entire pack because if I understand the science behind cigarettes,
Mhm.
cigarettes are the thing that makes cigarettes dangerous is not the nicotines per se, it's the tar, it's the burning shit, it's the inhaling, burning,
Yeah.
stuff into your lungs. And literally, how can one joint be as bad as an entire packet without being the size of those, 12, 20, I don't know how many cigarettes in one go? How can it do that?
Well, that's what I was thinking. But the only other thing that I could think of is the fact that pot smoke does produce resin. Like if you like my one friend, he was always just scraping out his pipe to get the resin, and it's because it's wet. It's like where tobacco burns, not burns clean, but burns dry. There's still a lot of sap in the leaves. Not really sap, but it's
Couldn't you dry it?
resin. Well, no, it is, but it still does produce that residue. It's a sticky, tarry kind of residue.
Yeah, so maybe that's the difference.
And that's the only thing that I could think of. I mean, obviously I'm not a scientist, but I read that today and I was like, really? Because I watched my old roommate. I watched him smoke, and basically it only takes a few puffs. Whereas, I there was about a year or two where I smoked cigarettes, and there's a whole bunch in a pack, and they're pretty long depending on which kind you get. I'm like, I can't really see that.
it's like the the thing you suggest there. I suppose that sounds plausible, but like you, I am pretty far from a scientist. The Oh, if we were on Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, this would be a perfect science or fiction. Um, if and for anyone who listens, Skeptic's Guide to the Universe is a rather interesting science-based podcast, and every week they give the people who are on it three scientific reports, and they got to work out which two are real, which one's fake, and it's usually quite fun to hear what people's it's usually quite fun to hear people's trains of thoughts about what might be real and what might not be.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's pretty cool. Like sometimes it's on iTunes and it's free to download, and sometimes I will at work, and it's really great because they'll be like, oh, there was a super hard diamond discovered that can cut through anything in the world, and there's this one quasar they think will be the thing that ends the universe, and also they map the DNA of this thing. Now, which one do you think was made up? And they're like, well, I could see this, but I don't know about that.
yeah, it's one of my favorite parts of that podcast. Of course, but the idea that a joint can be as bad for your health as an entire pack of cigarettes. I don't know. I've heard people claim that just smelling chocolate can make them gain weight, and this sounds to be bullshit on the same level.
I always thought that that was hyperbole. Well, I guess like metaphorically it could be true because if you smelled the chocolate and you're like, I need chocolate, and then you ate a candy bar, well, yes. But, just when you smell something, you're not really taking anything into your body. It's just molecules that are, being picked up by your olfactory senses.
Yeah,
Molecules do not contain calories. I mean,
yeah,
together they do, but.
yeah. The smell doesn't. The person who said this, they claimed that their body had a automatic reaction to the smell of it, that it just generated fat. I really love to know where they thought
That
it was
doesn't because
generating
but
from.
you can't create matter and energy from nothing. If you can, we need to call somebody because
And
you need to be on some kind of show.
or they were obviously in the X-Men universe because that shit happens all the time in X-Men.
Really? People like smell chocolate and gain weight?
No, but they create matter or displace matter or whatever. Like,
Oh, that's true.
the Hulk does that all the time as well. He gets, where the hell did all of his, giant green body come from?
I just figured that his body went through like a period of super cell division, like like the cell division, like mitosis, meiosis, interphase, anaphase, telophase. I think I still remember all the phases of cell division, but that happens so rapidly, and that release of energy would be what gave him all his super energy. And then when he goes back to himself, then his body reabsorbs all of that all of that matter.
Still,
Well, you wonder where it would go.
yeah,
Maybe he sweats a whole bunch when he turns back into Bruce Banner. And no, I'm really serious because that matter can't just disappear. I wonder where it goes. It
yeah.
might be that he sweats it out.
Hence, this is why I said that if they can really do that, then they should be like an X-Men universe because it's a thing that happens in comic books all the time. It
Yeah.
also happens in Star Trek as well because Odo from Deep Space Nine, he is whenever he's regular Odo hanging around, one guy picked him up and had to carry him and said he was very heavy. However, he can also turn into a glass, which is held by like a Ferengi without realizing that it's Odo. So,
Well, it could be that his species, like, they've been around for a million years. Well, we don't know how long. But it could be that he has the ability to shrink down his cells very small or expand them with use of energy.
yeah, but that wouldn't change the weight. That would just change the size.
No, even change the density.
I'm, I don't know,
Maybe.
maybe I don't know. It's
Okay, if you're a shapeshifter, write in the show and let us know.
yes. Or if any of you know more about science than either of us, let us know whether which of us is right, because I'm not entirely convinced that changing your that what you're suggesting is feasible, and either of
Well,
us
I
could be
mean,
right.
it's a science fiction show, so I'm sure that there's some kind of fancy science. I'm sure there is a forum dedicated to just arguing about that.
Oh, there
How
is.
much you want to bet?
Oh, there is.
But I mean, the study, you know what it actually kind of struck me as? It kind of struck me as one of those things that you'll just, like, you'll see on, like, Facebook or something, and you'll be like, oh my gosh, oh yes, well. And then you'll share it without ever bothering to fact check it.
Oh yeah, that's what Snopes is for.
Well, you know what? I got into it on, and I don't know if she listens to the show, but you remember, um, Brenna
Yeah.
from New Orleans?
Yeah.
who also has a show where she reviews books. And you know what? When we edit I'll put the link to her page in there. But I love her, but she's going to be our object lesson for today. She posted on her Facebook thing this or wall this thing about margarine, and this was about several days ago, and it was like, well, did you know that margarine was invented to fatten up turkeys, but all the turkeys died. They didn't want to lose money, so they decided to sell it, as a food product, and it's one molecule away from plastic, and it kills you instantly, and it was outlawed, and like and so I was like, I have my doubts. So I went to Snopes, and of course, that literally the entirety of that forward thing, in its verbatim, was on the Snopes page, and so I said, dear heart, I love you, but Snopes, yo. And then I followed up with, not all seed, artificial spreads are bad though. Seed oil spreads are good because I use Smart Balance with omega 3, and so I commented. I said, there's there's nothing wrong with some like seed oil spreads, and there are some really good organic spreads you can use in place of butter. Not all artificial things are bad. Because I use a seed oil spread, and I know a lot of other people that do. And then some people were like, "Oh yeah, things and stuff." And then this one friend of hers, or person, or someone who commented, um, was like, "Yeah, but it's evil and things and stuff." And I was like, "No." And then I referenced the Wikipedia article. Oh no, trans fats. And she was like, "No, but see, some of them contain trans fats." And I was like, "Yeah, but since 2003, the FDA has mandated that if you have trans fats involved in something, that it's labeled, and there've been like a score of bans." And she was like, "No, only in California and only in restaurants." So I quoted right from the Wikipedia, and I was like, "No, look at all these states and municipalities. No, but not in the grocery store and blah 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 and things and stuff." And like, I really honestly wanted to say, what do you hope to accomplish? Why are we even arguing? Like, I think what this woman really wanted me to say is, "You know so much. Oh, you're so smart. I should listen to everything you have to say." And it made me so annoyed that I didn't rage quit the conversation, but I just didn't reply because I was like, yeah, I agree with you that you shouldn't eat trans fats, but I'm not sure why you keep every time I post something like, "No, because things and stuff," and I one time talked to a dietitian and blah, 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 and I was like, whatever. And
So,
I hope
trans fats, I hadn't really noticed the trans fats being mentioned much in the UK. I've only ever come across it to my recollection when dealing with stuff from America. And is this one of these things where America has invented something artificial that's unnecessary?
no, trans fats are a manufactured kind of fat. And it might be that in the UK you guys don't have to put it on packaging, because remember that pudding that comes in a can, that
Yeah.
bread pudding thingy. I was gonna get some like a few months ago, and I'll get this and think of Hagen. And then I checked, and it has like 2 grams of trans fat on it. I was like, no, I won't. Never mind. And apparently, it is actually very bad for you, because it's basically a fat preservative, and it's just no good. So I'm betting it's something that you guys might not have to put on packaging, or that you might not use. So I don't know.
It sounds like it's one of those things that America, their FDA studied it's not very good, and so culturally America's all like it's not very good. While we over here we haven't. It's quite interesting if you look at what's banned in some countries and what isn't. Like certain American breakfast cereals were banned in Denmark recently, I think it was.
I know that some can't be sold in Canada because they have so many chemicals that the Canadian government doesn't consider them food.
And the American margarine, I believe, is illegal in the UK.
Well, I'm not saying that there's not bad things in food. I mean, because God knows there are, especially in American food. But like, I'm really sick of that conspiracy mentality of, oh, I'm just gonna pass this on, and I'm not gonna fact check it. I'm gonna assume it's gospel. Like, I actually, when I was an office manager for a small company, it was a small film company years and years ago. I said to my boss, I was like, well, I have to reorder supplies for the kitchen, and oh, I'm gonna get more Splenda, because we had 2 employees who were diabetic. They were type 1 diabetic. They'd been diabetic since they were kids. They needed Splenda for their coffee. And she goes, "Oh, no, get Splenda." And I was like, "Why not?" Because Splenda is chemically different from aspartame and equal and those other sweeteners. It's actually, pretty okay for you, as far as the research that I did. because I did research before I started using it, and she was like, "Well, I heard on the internet," being the key phrase. She goes, "I heard on the internet that it has chlorine in it, and your body converts it to pure chlorine, and you die of poison eventually." And I said, "Deirdre, honey," I said, "yes, it has a chlorine atom in it. This is true." I said, "However, pure chlorine it's a reactive gas. It has to bond with another element to become inert. That's what table salt is. It's sodium chloride." I said, "Pure chlorine doesn't, I mean, it doesn't even really like naturally exist. You have to create it. It's not just chlorine's hanging out somewhere." And she's like, "No, because in your body, when the molecule breaks down into pure chlorine." And I said, "That's called element synthesis. If you're committing element synthesis inside of your body, you need to call somebody. You need to get in the Lancet or the AMA journal or something, because that's a medical miracle." So she's like, "No, I'll prove it." So she does a Google search, right? And this is 2007, I think. And pulls up an entire, like, pages and pages and pages and pages of that bullshit, big pharma made up AIDS and restless leg syndrome, and they're all trying, it's just the man trying to selling you drugs that will kill you and all this other stuff. And she was like, pages and pages and pages and pages of testimonials about, oh, well, she goes, "Look at this one study. They these people had an increased example of lupus." And I said, but what were the test variables? Was there a control? Did they separate out the groups that are more likely to suffer from lupus, that have a hereditary disposition to lupus? What were the other environmental factors? And she was like, "No, see, you just believe too much in what other people tell you." And I was like, "Who believes
What the
too
fuck is
much?"
she doing?
I don't know.
The this goes back to my point from ages ago. People if people don't have an actual legitimate reason to be annoyed or unhappy, they will quite often go out to look for what reason. It's the same thing with anti-vaxxers. You've got the people, our countries in the West have lived without such things like smallpox and other like horrible things on a big massive scale for so many generations, that's like they have to invent a conspiracy to make themselves feel better, just to make them feel bad so they can.
Well,
It's
what a lot of it comes down to is autism. And yes, autism has been increasing, over the past, 50, 60 years. Everyone agrees on that. But the thing is,
people are better at noticing it.
exactly, our diagnostic criteria has changed. Like, okay, in the 1800s, they just called you the village idiot,
Or
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 normal.
or they made you Thomas Jefferson.
No, I'm not even talking about autism now. Like, if you were significantly special needs, way back in the day, you would just maybe be put into an asylum. You would probably have to have, if you were nonverbal, you might have died in childhood, quite honestly, because when you have major, major, major special needs, there are a lot of medical special needs too that
Yep.
they didn't know how to treat back then. And the thing is that yes, we're better at diagnosing. We have a better diagnostic criteria, and a million bajillion variables have changed in the past 50 or 60 years. So much so that, researchers are researching this and they're making advancements. But to blanket say, "Oh, yeah, we'll see, it's because of vaccines," that first of all, that doctor was discredited.
Yeah,
He
Wakefield is a
basically
piece
admitted
of
the fraud.
shit.
And there have been countries with socialized medicine that have done massive, massive scale experiments where they said, "Okay, we will stop vaccinations on, this squadron of the population." And they saw the autism rates stay consistent. But they saw a huge jump in child mortality from preventable diseases. But there are still people like, "No, see, because I gave him a vaccine for the tetanus, and then he done turned into a retard, and I'm sure it's the government's fault." No, stop being stupid. Ugh, sorry.
Yeah, it's
The
people
the, the anti-vax people drive me up a wall.
people people with comfortable lives. The more comfortable your life, the longer, the more that you feel the need that you will invent something to
I,
feel
I
bad
don't
about.
I don't even think it's that. I think you have this LCD, this lowest common denominator of the population, that like Carl Sagan said, they don't really understand science, and that's cool. I don't really know exactly how the microwave works. I know that it, uses special kind of rays that excite the atoms and or the water and everything heats up. I know vaguely how the microwave works. I couldn't take it apart and put it back together again, but that's okay. I don't have to know. But people to whom science equals magic and modern medicine equals magic, that you can tell them anything. You can tell them, yes, well, did you know that one man took one Tylenol every day and he grew up to be Wolverine? Oh, really? Well, I better hit the share button. Like they're so, I don't even know. They're so like willing to just believe anything that, yep, must be magic. I believe that.
There's so many. Sorry, there was I came up with this great idea for a thing. God damn it, I forgot what I was going to say. So you take one Tylenol a day and you become fictional.
Well,
Brilliant.
no, like it just these things that if you stop and you look at it objectively and you apply logical, rational thought, you're like, this doesn't seem quite right.
Yeah.
You look into it and you find out it's
And,
nothing. It's
and
pseudoscience.
yeah, and while science has been wrong about things, and occasionally scientists have been dishonest fucks and have caused lots of harm, and lots of people have been harmed because of negligence, this has all happened. But not once has someone ever worked out that science has been fucking up. Who's the person? Not once has the person who's worked that out not been a scientist. You need a scientist to fight a scientist. You know how the NRA likes to think that, how do you get rid of a bad guy with a gun? You need a good guy with a gun. This actually is how stuff is in science. How do you get rid of a bad scientist? You get a good scientist.
Exactly, and that's why marijuana should be legalized. Amen.
And I didn't even get to talk about the Big Lebowski.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, we're coming up to the time to be metal, so skulls and stuff. So we'll have to rant more about everyone else in the world later, another time. But I'd be proud of me. I downloaded a Pathfinder song on iTunes.
Oh, you downloaded the Spartacus under the Spartacus show theme?
Yep.
Ah, I see. You're beginning to love metal.
And if anyone knows Happy Viking, I'll put in his URL. He has a show called Frothy Pint of Metal, and he just did Pathfinder. He just did a review on them. So I'll put the URL for his review in here. But for now, enjoy the Nanowar song.
Well, that was the world's greatest Weird Al Yankovic-ish parody of a Metallica song that the world has ever seen.
Oh, Metallica. Everyone hates you. You broke the monster.
Master of Pizza. Do, 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 do.
I wish I had pizza right now. I wish I had crab pizza from Pizza Boy.
I've never had it, so I have nothing to compare it to.
You nearly had it, but don't worry. Don't worry. Next time you're back, you will not escape because I'm going to order it and you will have crab pizza.
Okay, how about we do it? You order crab pizza for yourself, and I will order a Hero or Giro or Gyro, whatever you call it, and I will have some of the crab pizza.
That's fine.
Because
what I usually do is it comes with cherry tomatoes and green onions, but I usually substitute banana peppers for the cherry tomatoes because, as we all know, tomatoes are full of tomato slime.
I've even because I'm not a big fan of crabs, so I.
Well, it's not like a big whole honking bunch. It's like, shreds of crab meat is involved.
Well, my mother's allergic to crab. With me, I tend, once after I have it, I usually feel very rough for a couple of days. So I might actually have a very, very, very light allergy to it.
Well, you didn't tell me that before. You just said you don't usually eat it. I'm not going to make you eat something that's going to make you sick.
I haven't got any definite thing over it. I just noticed last time I had crab, I was over in Belfast at this sort of mad buffet place, and one of the things you could do was go up to this guy and get him to give you some meat, and he would fry it for you in front of you. And he steamed crab for me. I decided just to go for a lot of seafood. I went to go to a Japanese thing, got a bunch of sushi and a bunch of salmon and all done. I got the crab, ate the crab, and it was half a small crab. And I felt rough for the next couple of days. But whenever I go to Belfast, I have to get up early. I could have been tired. There's a lot of things that could have been, but this has happened before. So I'm thinking I might, either I just really don't like it, or I might have a very, very, very light allergy to it. I don't know, but it doesn't make me go to the hospital, and I've never been tested.
Well, yeah, but at this, well, okay, we'll hash this out at another time when it's not, on the air.
Well,
We'll make the big crab pizza decision another day.
I just want to say my thing about crab. I last time I went to this place, I had like crab claws and stuff, and I was fine. I decided just to try because I was trying new things, and maybe it's got about how much crab I'm eating. I don't know because I was fine after Christmas at your family.
Oh, right, yeah, because we had that. Oh my God, that was amazing. I
So
know my mom said Aunt Susan like dropped a lot of money on that meal, and that was really worth it. She's an amazing cook.
So it's for me and crab. There is evidence that suggests allergy, or there is evidence that says that it's not an allergy; it's something else. So who knows?
Or it could just be the something like some kind of chemical or something that's in UK crab that not it's not an American.
That's possible as well. So watch the space guys for whether I'm allergic to crab
For
or
further
not.
crab pizza updates. At any rate, since he's been nudging my toe with his claw for about the last few minutes, here is the lobster himself, who will not be eaten in any way, Mr. Giovanni Jones, to give us our trivia fact of the day.
Hey Giovanni, do you feel really uncomfortable that we're talking about eating fellow crustaceans?
No, you see, I'm so used to being discriminated against by mammals, it just rolls off the back of my shell, quite honestly. And don't worry, one of these days, the crustacean elder gods will rise, and then you all will be on our tables. But anyway, for today, I've got a really great trivia fact, and it's a geek fact. So that makes it even better. Let me just crawl up on the mic so you can hear me better. Now, did you know that Khan from Star Trek, his full name is Khan Noonien Singh, was named after a guy that Gene Roddenberry served with in World War II? It's true. He'd lost contact with the guy and hoped he'd see his name in Star Trek and get in touch. It didn't happen though. So later on, he reused the name for Data's creator, Noonien Singh. It's kind of sad, actually. Lobsters don't fight in wars. That's purely a human invention.
Yeah, fascinating bit of trivia there.
It
Yeah,
is.
there's a reason that they don't often mention Khan's full name in Star Trek, just because Khan by itself is cool, because you can scream Khan, you can't really scream Khan Noonien Singh. Yeah, Singh is he's an Indian character, so Singh it fits, but Khan just by itself is much more cool.
That's true. So until next week, I'll see all you mammals and little crustaceans later.
I electrocuted his car.
I don't have a car anymore. I got rid of it. You kept bombing it.
Wow, do you have a microphone attached to you? Because you were speaking very loudly for someone who just skittered away.
I came back around the other side. We're pretty mobile. It's all the legs. So long, two legs.
Bye bye.
Okay, so now that you've annoyed the lobster,
Two legs. Does that include Kippers, or is Kippers an honorary crustacean?
Kippers is sitting on his chair. He's not sleeping though.
Oh, can you make him talk?
I don't know if he feels like it. Hey, buddy, come here. He looked at me, and he blinked.
Oh, you should get him a treat so he'll say something.
What? But he doesn't really talk. It's not like I'm like, speak, Kippers, and get a treat. He just sits there, and then I hold my hand down, and he knows if he paws at it that I'll give him a treat. He's not even looking over when I say the word treat. He's looking at the bookcase now. You're unhealthily obsessed with my cat.
I want your cat to speak because he's really cool. I like cats that
Eventually, he
talk.
will. He'll just come over and he'll meep, and the audience will be like, "Aww." Now he's just staring at me.
I don't have a cat.
You don't, but you will soon, and maybe two.
Hope so. Depends if we're not entirely sure if my brother's cat is pregnant or not.
Well, shouldn't that be something that the vet hashes out? Because if it's not pregnant, it might be like some kind of health problem.
That's something definitely to point out to him.
Yeah. But anyway, now is the part of the show called One Time at the Store. And One Time at the Store is a very special time that you and I spend together, where I tell you a story from one of my, actually, now in 20 days, 9 years experience with a large chain bookstore. Some of the things that I've seen are horrible and unspeakable, or funny, or stupid, or just kind of sad, and today's one of them. And now this story comes from the store that I work at now. It's the third. As I've moved around the country, I've also moved stores. And this took place a few Christmases ago, about a few days before Christmas. And one of the women that I worked with, one of the things that we have to do at the end of the day when we close down and we kick everybody out is to check the bathrooms and make sure that there's no one hiding in the bathrooms or still there. It gets locked in. So I had the phone and I was at customer service and I was relaying information to the manager who was up at the front. And my coworker comes up to me and she goes, "You'll never guess what I found in the women's room," which is the worst thing you can hear in retail.
Was it a lobster?
It was not a lobster. There's nothing good that you can find in the bathroom. Like, it's never like, "Oh, I found a gold bar," or, "Oh, I found a diamond ring." Although, once we did find someone's wedding ring, but...
Or we found, or like a Caramac.
A what?
A Caramac, it's a type of chocolate bar in the UK. It tastes like processed yellow.
We definitely would not eat anything ever found in the restaurant.
It's imagine white chocolate mixed with caramel.
Would you like to tell the story?
Cut to 5 hours later, and I'm talking about Superman.
Probably. But anyway, so she's like, "You have to come with me. You have to see this to believe this." And I was like, oh God. Because we found dirty underwear. We found pregnancy tests. I've been in 2 different stores where we found pregnancy tests. One was positive. You find weaves sometimes. One time I found a single dead rose, which I thought was particularly poignant, on the floor of a women's restroom. But, I mean, I was like, oh God, oh my God. Like, I was prepared for the worst. So we have 2 regular size stalls. We have a handicap stall, which is where the baby changing table is. And we also have, now, if you're a guy, you might not know this, but and this is top secret now, so don't go passing around that I told you. In a stall in a women's room, there's usually a little plastic or metal box, a little tin that's attached to the wall, and that's to put some trash in there if you need to. And it usually has a special liner of its own and stuff. So we go into the handicap stall, and that tin is full to bursting. Like literally, like the metal was pooched out on one side, with these small airline size bottles of vodka, all empty. We pulled out I think 6 or 7 of them, and I thought about it, and it was just so bizarre. And my coworker was like, "Can you believe that? That's so. I mean, what's?" And I was like, "That's the saddest thing in the world." And she said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Some woman had a purse full of vodka bottles." Okay, she's like, "Yeah." Came into the store and came into the bathroom, probably sat here on the toilet, or hopefully she stood, pulling these bottles out of her purse or jacket pocket or whatever, and slowly, sadly, getting wasted in our bathroom. Is that not 2 days before Christmas? And she's like, "Yeah, that is really sad." I'm like, there's a novel in that somewhere.
Well, the other possibility is that someone just happened to have a bunch of empty bottles on them and they put them there to troll you.
I really doubt that's the case, honey.
I doubt it too. Though I have to say, I've been in your store. I think I've wanted to get drunk several times there too.
Hey, it's a lovely store.
No, it is a lovely store. Although when I go in there and there is no, none of the soup that I really like there, then I want to cry and drink a lot of vodka.
Well, we have several different soups, and well, we used to have a schedule, and be like, on Monday serve this, on Tuesday serve that. But it's really dependent on which soups we get sent from distribution, because they come in big frozen blocks, in a thing within a container, this plastic container that you freeze. And it really depends on what we get, when, and we're one of the cafes with 2 soup tureens, so we can do 2 soups a day. So it's whichever the soups the person who closed the night before feels like pulling. Candy has said that if I let her know when I'm going to bring you, that she'll make sure to pull the kind you like.
Oh, so that's good. That's the I like the chili one. And what was the other one I liked?
You like chicken with wild rice.
There was one with dumplings as well.
Yeah, chicken and dumplings. I don't think we do that one anymore though.
Oh, that's disappointing.
I'm sorry. Well, the soups, they phase in, they phase out. I mean, literally, I don't know why you think they're so special, because they're basically a frozen block. The cream soups get a container full, a soup container full of whole milk added, and the or 2%, depending on what the recipe calls for. But then the clear broth soups get a container full of water added. It's nothing to write home about.
Well, I just like them.
Mm,
Although I have to say, being inside your Epic DVD section and looking at all the films that are really expensive, who wouldn't want to drink?
Well, I mean, our CDs and our DVDs are more expensive than wholesalers, but that's because as a company we don't wholesale. And everyone's like, I could get this cheaper at Best Buy. And I want to be like, well, fine. Then why don't you go to Best Buy? Why are you here? But
Yeah, though
that's a smart issue.
Best Buy does not have an entire section dedicated to Criterion Collection.
Exactly. But you know what? We were talking about something last week, and I don't think that we actually got to say as much as we wanted to say about it. What was that topic that we decided to revisit this week?
1980s kids cartoons.
Hooray!
Lots and lots of them. Yeah, we talked last week about a bunch of different ones. We're probably gonna go over some of the same ground, but we're gonna try and stick to shows we didn't talk about last time. So let me start off with Galaxy High. Do you recall that?
I do not. I never actually saw that, nor do I
Basically,
have any memory of it.
it was it was definitely an American show, but it was these two kids from Earth had to go to a high school in space, and all of the students were from different alien races, and they got into hijinks with each other, and
Was it animated or was it puppet?
oh, animated.
Okay.
And it was one of those shows that only lasted for the first season because traditionally 80s animated shows, the first season was 12, 13 episodes, and the second season that was 65 episodes. So the first season was always like a test run. So, the second season was the big one. So ones that only got like first seasons included like Troma's Toxic Crusaders based on the Toxic Avenger, Galaxy High obviously, Inhumanoids, a bunch of ones that weren't, that didn't. Visionaries was another one.
I don't remember any of these.
You don't remember any of them? You don't remember Visionaries?
Hmm.
Oh, Visionaries.
Also, keep in mind that we didn't have cable until until I was in elementary school.
Uh,
So when I was really, really teeny, it was only the broadcast channel. So if it wasn't on like Philly 57 or, one, two, like 2, 3, 5, or 9, I didn't see it.
well, Visionaries it's one of those shows. It's out of all of like the 80s kids shows, it's one of the few that I would definitely like to see adapted for a film. Basically, it's set in an alien planet, but it's pretty much Earth. Like
Hmm.
there's like this conjugation of planets and stars, and therefore science no longer works anymore. Oh no! And so no machines work. So the society sort of devolves into this medieval type thing in the ruins of the old world. But then the sorcerer turns up and basically admits, yeah, this is actually the age of magic now, bitches, and gives some people magic, and the heroes and the villains, and so they fight each other using their new magical powers. And the great thing is the sort of the wizard who actually has access to all of the power, and he's just giving them the goodies and baddies and some magic.
Hmm.
He's entirely neutral. He doesn't give a shit about either of them. He's just giving them magic mostly for his own amusement.
What a douche.
Yeah, it's great. It's got this thing where one of the everyone gets the magic thing that they get a totem animal and they can turn into the totem animal, and for short periods of time, whether it's a bear or a lion or a
Wait, was this
giant
like kind of
monster.
like a Native American like kind of thing?
No, it was more sort of medieval armor and stuff.
Okay, then I'm thinking of something different then.
Well, they turn into their animals and stuff, but some of them other ones they have like these staffs. Like during the actual battle scenes, like they've all got swords and stuff, and that's great. But then some of them hold these massive sticks just with like shields on the end, and it's like excellent. You'd be a really great standard bearer for an army, but just one guy fighting by himself. You're just carrying something really heavy for no reason. But later on, the guys are like, I will enchant these and give you a power that can be done with them, like um, creating a massive shield around them or destroying something. It gives. But everyone who doesn't have one of those things to carry on gets to control vehicles using magical powers and stuff.
How are those vehicles working if there's no more science or machines?
Oh, the machines are still there. They just don't work anymore. However, you can operate them if you've got the right magic.
Oh, well, I guess that makes sense.
It's the sort of thing I'd love to see it like just adapted, but set it on Earth rather than this alien planet. It would be much easier, and it's got a really cool concept. I really wish it had lasted longer than 13 episodes.
Well, was it a toy tie-in kind of thing?
Oh yeah, there was action figures, and one of the things that even as a child I didn't understand, the action figures came with all the stuff, and they used 80s hologram technology in the show and in the action figures. So you'd have the totem on the chest, and it would be a hologram, so you'd see the image, which was quite cool. But I never understood, even as a child, why they didn't give you an action figure of their totem animal as well, so you could be all like, oh, he turns into a lion, yay, I got a lion.
Maybe they meant to release those, and they just didn't get the budget for it.
Maybe, but I'm sure at least a couple of you are in the audience are squealing that I remember Visionary so well.
Oh, you know what? Speaking of toy tie-ins, did you ever watch the laser tag cartoon?
No, I missed that. Every so often I check through animated lists of animated shows from the 80s to see what I saw and what I didn't see, what I remember. And that one, I don't know if it even played over here.
Well, it might not have been called laser tag, but it was basically like it was, some dystopian future, and there were some bad guys who might have been mutants. Well, their henchmen were definitely mutants, and they went around shooting each other with laser guns. But it was based off of, this laser tag toy that you had this vest that you strapped to yourself, and it was basically, laser guns. Like if you shot the person's chest, their thing would vibrate and make a noise. You're like, oh, I shot you. And then, in the 90s, we just had, for reals laser tag at like Qzar and places like that. So
Yeah, over here, I remember
Google
doing
that
it.
actually.
I remember
Like
doing it a couple of times, going playing the doing actual one. We called it Laser Quasar rather than Laser Tag.
Photon was the name of the TV series.
Hmm.
Photon was a live action television show. Oh wait, no, this wasn't live action. This was animated. So I typed in laser tag TV show. Let's try animated.
You look up a list of 1980s animated shows. I remember for ages I had this. I had two animated things that I remembered watching as a child, and I tried to track them down. Both of them I had extremely sketchy bits of information and memory for. One of them was all I remembered was that there were these
I found
aliens. Oh,
Laser Tag Academy.
okay. I will try to look that up. But I remember there were these two things I was trying to find that I remembered based on scant amounts of information. You had an alien world, and you had human things and giant robots, and the humans and the giant robots would join together, and there was rock monsters. That's all I remember. I remembered. However, I tracked this down. This was robotics, and I have the DVD, and it's not very
I
good,
have a
but
vague memory of that.
it
You know what I used to love when I was a little teeny kid was Voltron. Oh man, I loved Voltron. Come to find out, as an adult, that the cartoon Voltron was actually cobbled together from a few different Japanese series. I mean, like how Power Rangers is cobbled together from a few of the
hmm
of the other Sentai shows.
yeah.
Well, that's what they did with this, and then they had an American voice cast and stuff like that. And so I have a season one, the box set of Voltron, because I found it like some gaming store. I was like, oh my gosh, Voltron, and it seemed cooler when I was a kid, or the English voice actors are awful. But I was just like, this is so stupid. The voice acting is horrible. And now I really want to get the actual, all three of the actual Japanese series and watch it and be like, oh, this is what I remember. It's cool now.
Well, I know the Voltron, the voice cast is pretty much the generic 1980s kids show voice cast.
Yeah, pretty
You know,
much like, I'm the girl. I'm the wacky sidekick. I'm the
it's
superhero guy, things and stuff. I'm the brainy one.
Yeah, like a lot of those shows use the exact same actors, like Peter Cullen, Neil Ross, Frank Welker,
You
Chris
shut your mouth.
Latta.
Peter Cullen is awesome. I had a crush on his voice alone.
I
My
I'm not
first crush.
insulting Peter Cullen. Peter Cullen, I'm just saying he is one of the 1980s, generic voice actors that turns up a lot. He's like the narrator of Voltron.
I'm just saying, his Optimus Prime, his Optimus Prime voice generated my first ever crush at the age of 4 for Optimus Prime. My first ever straight and any kind of crush was for a robot, which says a lot. Because he sounded so damn heroic and reassuring and like John Wayne, like, oh, don't worry, Bumblebee. We all have days like that. Come on now, let's get those Decepticons. I was like, oh, you can command me any day, Optimus Prime. I'm only.
Yeah, for children of a certain age, Optimus Prime is basically a mixture of King Arthur and Merlin and Robin Hood, and he is the sort of the iconic sort of heroic figure.
That's true. I thought he was a better hero than He-Man anyway.
Yeah, He-Man never died to save the world.
Nope. I have the power of the porn stash. Oh wait.
Um,
He
but
does though. He does look like, like an early 80s porn.
but the back to the 80s things that I couldn't find. There was another 80s animated thing which I've still not managed to find, and I just recall I think it was a film, and
Hmm.
there was like an anthology thing, and I remember several bits of it when I watched it as a child frightened me. I remember that there was this sort of guy who he was shown to be an evil man because he stood on flowers.
Oh, this flower. I think this is where you get that phobia of yours.
No, I don't think so. I think I've tracked that down to another film. But
Okay.
he stamps on flowers, and then as some sort of a punishment from some sort of satanic death figure, he gets covered in flowers. He gets turned into a walking mass of flowers. And I remember being very frightened of that karmic punishment as a child. And I really want to see this again just to see exactly what the fuck was frightening me.
Was it was it a UK production?
I don't
Was it an
know.
American production?
I don't know. I've several times I've asked people who know about animated things if this rings any bells, and I looked up.
What kind of accent did everybody have?
I can't recall. I was like probably about six at the time, and I've looked up, searched on Google for like, things that I recall to see if I could work out what it was, like I did with robotics. But
Might you have dreamed it?
no, I'm very sure it was a real animated thing.
Well, can you ask your older siblings if they remember? Because they were
Oh,
older than you, maybe they.
I've asked, I've asked them, and I've had no luck. So, if any of you come across this animated thing involving anthology horror, and at least it seems to be, I recall it as an anthology horror. Maybe it was not.
Could it have been part of the anime? I think there was an animated Crypt Keeper series, wasn't there?
There was Tales from the Crypt Keeper, but I think I was slightly too old to be terrified by that.
Okay.
The the so anyone, if you come across a thing which features a guy in a karmic punishment being turned into like flowers, please let me know. I want to know what the fuck this is.
It's been haunting your nightmares forever.
No, I'm just curious. And pretty sure we mentioned this last week, but Mask, GI Joe, Transformers, Inhumanoids, and GoBots, because they're now all owned by Hasbro, are all set in the same universe, even though it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Although, you know what you wanted to talk about and didn't last week was Gem and the Holograms.
Oh, I love Gem.
Truly, truly, truly amazing. I loved Gem when I was little.
Yep.
It's like, Mom, can I have a car that I can drive through a wall that's made of energy? And then we would all turn different. My mom's like, that's not for real science. I was like, oh.
Yeah, Gem. Okay. Gem, I am very amused by, and the music videos are genuinely. They're very authentic for 80s music videos and
Yes,
everything.
that's
So
true.
the only issue I have with it really is that every single member of the cast at some point should have been arrested. You can get away with shit like that whenever it's aliens, doing shit, causing trouble, or if they're like members of an international terrorist organization like Cobra or something. But whenever you're a band and you deliberately try to murder people, like, with a bunch of witnesses, I'm sorry, you're gonna go down for something eventually.
There's no consequences in kids' TV.
Yeah, that's one of the problems with Gem, because these are characters that should have had consequences.
I can see that.
But it's a very fun show. Of course, spent about $100 buying my box set of it. Um, I know that Benzai has a box set of Gem as well.
That Frenchman. I mean, I love Benzai.
Yeah, like in my complete box set thing, I have Gem, I have Transformers Generation One, I have the real Ghostbusters. I think I've got all of Thundercats. I'm not entirely sure.
Thunder.
Yep,
Thunder.
and
Cancellation. I mean, what?
and all I got all of Mask as well. Like I have all of Visionaries and Inhumanoids, but that's not a big deal. Not really an achievement because it costs like £6 for the entire thing. But oh yeah, I have the complete Toxic Crusaders as well, which you can only
Where did
get.
you get that?
I got that at Trauma Dance because
Trauma Dance? What's that?
it's kind it's a film festival. You can only actually get the complete Toxic Crusaders if you buy the complete Toxie set, which is now the only copies that are left. There's not many copies that are left that are unsold. So I was all like, I was like, holy shit, all 4 films and the Toxic Crusaders. I'm totally giving you 75 quid, rotund hirsute man behind the desk.
And that's exactly how she said it, too.
Yep.
No, she didn't. But we've been talking for quite a while, or something like that, and it's getting on to be time to look to the dictionary. But first, we wanted to talk about something really cool that just happened this week involving our friend Karen.
Mm-hmm.
And what was that, honey?
Well, at some point last week, Omega was all like, I have something important to tell you, but I've forgotten what it is. And then a couple of days later, I suddenly see, you can be a co-host on Lesbian Talk on eBay, and to help out, if you bid on it, to help out Karen with her project. And I was like, that is a really good idea. I wish I'd been told about it, but that's a really good idea, so I'm not annoyed, and I'm putting my full support behind this.
No, like I was gonna tell you, and then that night I was like, I think I wanted to tell you, and I can't remember it now. But we actually managed to raise about $100
Yeah.
for her project, which is really great. And all the people that bid on the auction, thank you so much.
Yes, and likely it will not be the last time this happens. Like, we're not sure when the winner will be on. He can't do weekends, and we have real trouble doing week during the week because of the time zone differences. So what I'm thinking, next time I'm over at yours, we could probably talk to him.
Yeah,
That would
work
make it a little easier. But we're thinking that'll probably not be the last time we do something like that. I had the idea that we could do it every so often, offer a co-host thing, for an eBay thing, and then all of the money raised for that auction goes to a charity of some sort.
I think that would be a great idea. I also want to apologize for the sound quality this episode. I just realized that I didn't turn the heat off before doing the podcast. So if you heard the heat kick on a few times, I'm sorry about that. Someday we'll have really good audio, and you'll be like, remember the days when they were just starting out and you could hear the heat and the cat and the wind and people in other apartments? Those were the days.
And I'd just like to apologize for having terrible audio generally.
Well, yeah, but that's because you're recording in metric, so.
Yeah, and the Skype recorder's not very good. I can't wait that we do this when we're over at yours again, so we can just sit with the microphone together.
Yeah, it'll be a lot easier.
And I'll be drinking, Colombian cola or something. Inca Cola.
But for today, I am holding the Oxford American Dictionary. Honey, what page should I turn to?
542.
I think that's the same one you picked last week.
Was it?
I don't know, let's find out. 600 something. No, it's not. It's in the P's. Okay. 1 or 2?
2.
Out of 18.
19.
There's none.
15.
Okay. 15. Punitive. Inflicting or intended to inflict punishment.
Oh, great. I'm going to talk about preaching to the perverted, aren't I?
Probably.
Well, I'm sure.
As in, to punish you, I will punitively throw the dictionary at you. Hey, I'd be throwing the book at you. Get it? Oh.
Well, this has been a truly hair-raising episode.
My hair's on end, I tell you what.
Yes. That's because your hair is not very large, therefore is not affected so much by gravity.
Well, actually, it's because I have short hair, and so it, like, when I go to bed, I wake up with Dragon Ball Z hair because it, like, sticks up in different ways. And I haven't showered today, so.
Your hair is over 9,000.
It is. But I'm gonna, after we're done, I'm gonna work out and then shower. So then I will no longer be in a state of hair raising.
Well, I have been the Amanda Hagen.
And I'm always the Omega.